Hey guys, this is AlbumReviewPlace, and this is a review of Arcade Fire's second studio album, Neon Bible. Now, I've listened to this album here on vinyl, which is probably my favorite vinyl I have at the moment. Once, all the way through, once a day for the past 10 days, and I thought that was enough to think about it and digest it, because I hadn't listened to it that much, so I decided to pick it up and see if I could have a new take on it. The reason is because when I first heard Funeral, I thought some tracks were a little bit sketchy, and I didn't get the whole thing. And same exact thing with The Suburbs, even more so with The Suburbs. Then Funeral clicked like really fast, like we're talking like a day or two of just listening to it a lot, and not listening to anything else at all. And The Suburbs took a little longer to click, but I mean, today, I love that whole album. So I'm still kind of waiting for this one to click. It's almost there, I feel. I think it'll take a little bit more listens to fully get that effect that I have with the other two albums. Either that, or that's just not going to work with this album. Who knows? It might be different. Alright, so, guys, the first thing about this album that I'm going to discuss is its general sound in comparison to its predecessor, Funeral, which it has gotten a lot of comparisons to that album, obviously, because of how big of a success Funeral was in 2004, and all the critics, fans waiting for the Arcade Fire's next release. And what did they get? They got Neon Bible. They got Neon Bible. That is a freaking awesome title, first of all, I'd just like to say. Love the album art. Now we're actually going to talk about the music. So, the album, like I said, in comparison to The Funeral, people could give this band crap about not changing their sound and not being innovative, as the British say. It's really innovative here in America, but they say innovative, so I'm going to say innovative. But they did change, they changed things up a bit. They kept they included, how about this, they included every single element that was on Funeral, but they added to it. A huge example of this is the gigantic pipe organ in Intervention and My Body is a Cage. I mean, that thing is just killer. It crushes the listener in a good way, if that even makes sense. But, I mean, they, basically what they did, and they even got, I mean, a lot of critics actually criticized this, I mean, even though it did get a lot of praise, they criticized this. They said the album had a really overblown sound because of all the things going on and of how big it sounded. That is the big point here. The big point. It is a big album. Not in length, in sound. It is huge. It is monstrous. It is gigantic. It's heavy. It's massive sounding. I mean, especially on songs like My Body is a Cage, where, like halfway through the song, once the full drum part comes in with the pipe organ on its loudest, most abrasive setting, that is a good example. Also an Intervention because of the pipe organ. That's more of a soft and soothing song, I'd say. In the middle, it does get a little more intense. Another example is Ocean of Noise, which is a brilliant track, I've got to say. Maybe one of the best tracks of the Arcade Fire in general. I mean, just the bass line and the guitar in the beginning, it's just a really nice beat. Makes you feel like I'm just sitting on a beach and just like everything is perfect, basically. But when it gets farther into that track does explode into something else, into this really just overblown, in a good way, just kind of chorus of like mariachi horns and strings, and it's just really, really great. And the song goes out with the outro with the horns and the strings. It really leaves a mark on you, I'll put it that way. Some of the songs that I think are somewhat in the same vein as Funeral is A Well in the Lighthouse, and perhaps No Cars Go. But No Cars Go was before Funeral even, so, by the way, I think they redid that song beautifully. I mean, I love the version that's on this album of that song. It's got a lot of energy. Whenever I'm listening to this, every time in those past 10 days that I've listened to this, whenever that song comes on, I just get so excited, my heart pumps. I feel like I would just want to like jump up and run around the room like an idiot. Yeah, I actually did that once. Yeah, luckily neighbors are like quarter mile away, so that's good. Anyways, as I was saying, Funeral had one sound. It wasn't overblown. Even in like songs like Wake Up, there was no overblown quality to Funeral at all. Not even in Power Out. There was something about that album's undertone that was comforting and kept you from feeling like there was too much going on. It just, everything felt natural and even stripped down at parts, even when it wasn't stripped down at all. So that's how that album is. Okay, maybe the most important note about this album is Win Butler's vocals. What happened? What the heck happened? In Funeral, he was like shouting the verses, like especially in Power Out. He'd just be like, "You ain't fooling no one with the lights out," and stuff like that. He'd be shouting his lungs out. And in this album, he takes it back. Now, I'm not criticizing that. I'm not praising that. I'm just stating it as a fact without injecting an opinion into it. He is taking his vocal point back a whole lot. The closest you get to his shouting on this, his shouty vocals, is in No Cars Go, where he actually is shouting. But I mean, that's the only time on the whole thing. And it's not the singing kind of shouting like in Power Out and in Neighborhood 1 Tunnels. It's just like full shouting, and he does it for like 30 seconds, kind of on and off. So I mean, that's kind of refreshing. But I mean, seriously, the only other point in the album where you get close to his vocals on Funeral is in Black Mirror, a little farther through the song, where he starts singing in French. It's kind of a high range, which is kind of, it's uplifting, But I really, really, really miss his really shouty, abrasive vocals. I mean, now I have to go to Modest Mouse for that all the time because, dude, I don't need to explain that. But, I mean, especially on Suburbs, well, I'm not reviewing the Suburbs, I just want to explore this topic further and compare it to the other releases from the band. The Suburbs, he totally takes back the shoutiness. Maybe he couldn't do that anymore. I'm not criticizing that, because what can you do? If you can't do it anymore, you can't do it. But, I mean, if you can, why not? It was great. I mean, I loved it. And a lot of people did. I mean, even now, like nowadays, when they play the song Power Out live, he kind of, like, talks the verses. He doesn't even go full out on them. I mean, he just doesn't do it anymore. So, I don't know. Might be hurting his vocal cords or something, but I really miss that. So, that's the only kind of step down on this album that I would mention. But otherwise, the songs have a really great flow on this album. I think it conceptualizes the band's sound a lot more than Funeral did, where Funeral was like, great song, stops, great song, stops, great song, stops. This one is more flowy, and it kind of conceptualizes the band. And they would later master the conceptual aspect of their music with the Suburbs, which is the most awesome concept record ever. Probably not, but I'm just saying that because I can't think of a better concept record off the top of my head right now. But that's basically Neon Bible, guys. Let me know what you think. I really like this album, and if I had to give it a score right now, I would give it an 89%. I really like it. Not quite there, but it's probably going to grow on me in the exact same way as Funeral and the Suburbs did. So, hey, it might not either, so we really have no idea. I might let you know later, but thanks for watching my very first video on this channel, in which I ran out of ideas for the channel title. Plus, everyone else took good ideas, so AlbumReviewPlace. It's okay. Thanks, guys, and Neon Bible from the Arcade Fire, released in 2007, the band's second studio album. It's awesome. What happened to Wynn's vocals? The sound's awesome. What do you think?